it's all on chain. That means even if Karma goes away at some point, like it's all there. The information is on chain. Someone could just easily build a UI around it, or our code is anyway open source. Someone could just run it. So all the effort you put in as a project, as a grantee, it's all intact. It's there forever. So that's the core idea.
Welcome to the Regeneration Will Be Funded. This is a show about regenerative finance. We are exploring pathways to a life-affirming economy. Today's guest is Mahesh Murthy. He is the founder of Karma, and Karma is behind the popular tool Karma Gap, which we're going to dive into. Welcome, Mahesh.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So what is Karma and Karma Gap?
At Karma, we are trying to solve the problem of on-chain reputation for users on the chain. And Karma Gap is one of our products, which Gap stands for Grantee Accountability Protocol. It's used by many communities who allocate capital. So they use it to kind of hold their grantees accountable. And also grantees use this tool to build up a reputation so they can show their work and then kind of get more funding and continue to work on their projects. So it's all two sides of the problem. For the grantees, helps build that reputation, and then for grant operators, kind of helps track what the grantees are doing and help them measure impact.
And which of the grant programs are you guys mostly focused on or seeing activity in?
We have quite a few, around 10 or 12 communities using it. Lot of the communities on Gitcoin who run their rounds on Gitcoin, they use it. Climate Coordination Network, ReFi DAO, open source software rounds, and Cello Public Goods, some of the Arbitrum rounds which were run. So there was like a wide variety of programs using it.
So not just open source Web3 tooling, but these different kinds of community rounds to track other forms of impact as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. We have a wide range of communities.
A grantee accountability program. So like what is the software experience that creates that accountability?
Yeah. So the protocol itself, it's a fully on-chain protocol. So the way it works is, so once a project receives funding, they go and say, okay, these are all the things we'll accomplish. And they put all of that on chain. And then as they are completing these milestones, they go and post updates with proof of, okay, I accomplished this and here is a proof. The thing is, it's all on chain. That means even if Karma goes away at some point, like it's all there. The information is on chain. Someone could just easily build a UI around it, or our code is anyway open source. Someone could just run it.
Cool.
So all the effort you put in as a project, as a grantee, it's all intact. It's there forever. So that's the core idea. And then the other benefit is it's all on chain. It kind of automatically brings accountability. The program manager, the community who funds these, say through quadratic funding rounds, they all can see what is happening. They can go verify, attest to it. So it builds this a graph of your impact and the work you're doing. So that's the beauty of it.
Got it. Yes, I mean, the Web3 space has done a lot of grants programs in the last few years, and I feel like we're now maturing into these discourses around, okay, how do we track the impact, measure the impact? We have a lot of data that needs to be analyzed, and so it seems like Karma Gap is really at the milestone reporting level, kind of in that niche, at least so far, specifically built out, where the projects say, this is what we're going to do. And then they report on, did they do it? And they attest information about that milestone. We committed this piece of code to GitHub to build that feature set, or we planted those trees, or, whatever the use cases are. So yeah, I mean, like at a high level, how are you seeing the space, the maturation of the space, and that milestone-based reporting? How is it generally going?
Yeah. So when we started, we used to notice there used to be this quadratic funding rounds or direct grants. Like you give out these funds, and then there used to be accountability. There was like, it was not like non-existent, but some of the projects would be like, they would just email the program manager and say like, oh, okay, if you finish this, it's just between them, and like no one else would know. And a lot of the QF rounds, like there was no accountability. Some would like self-report when they used to apply for a future round, for example. And it was very disorganized. So we really wanted to, the reason we say it's a protocol is it has a clear data structure. It has a way for you to kind of show your work, or like kind of produce the, like show the results, right? So that's why we call it this protocol and an application. And what we have noticed is, in fact, Climate Coordination Network was one of the first one to kind of mandate, like if you want to be part of the next round, you need to have a profile on Karma, and then you need to kind of like show your work and what you have done. Whether you got $500, $1,000, or $5,000, like they wanted to see some activity, something that you're not just like not doing anything, right? So that's where we started. And then now slowly, like there is this whole verification, we're going there, and then we are making progress on like, okay, now this is good. It's funny how your expectations are like, the goalpost is always moving, right? So which is good. Like we started with like, well, there is literally no accountability, no way to look at the progress. Okay, we solved that problem. Then now the next problem is like, okay, people are posting proof, but like who is verifying it? Like how do you measure impact? They're like, okay, let's tackle that next. So that's the phase we are in. I think we've made good progress, but there's still a long way to go.
Yeah, and it's interesting. You were at Funding the Commons just a couple of days ago as well, right? Yeah. So we were both in that room and listening to the conversations about this that are happening inside of Protocol Labs and with the Filecoin programs and Octants and Gitcoins, and there's so many experiments. I do think that the Web3 space holds itself to a pretty high standard, actually, relative to what I've seen in the traditional philanthropic space, where they do grant programs and they have the same exact dynamic, which is you give the money and how do you know what the impact was, and what was the milestone reporting, and what's the data analysis? And like, I think the Web3 space to me feels very self-critical about like, we have no idea how these projects are doing. Like, we're giving all this money away, but like, it's not clear. And And I'm like, I have not seen a traditional philanthropic funder, pull up their extraordinary data analysis of like the way that Open Source Observer or Metrics Garden and others are doing. Maybe it's happening, but I think it's very rare. So, but I think it's a different flavor, right? Because Web3 is happening digitally. There's not necessarily the personal relationships between the funders and the grantees. And by its nature, it's trying to kind of like somewhat abstract this to algorithms, or to kind of do things in a more digitally first native way. Curious what that provokes.
I mean, I have I don't have like experience in the traditional grants system, but whatever I have gotten my hands on the internet, I have read and done all those things. But it's good to know, like we are more critical of ourselves, which is, I think it's good. Like that moves everyone forward.
Totally.
So the two challenges which I have seen with like this whole system today is, one is collecting the data in the right way, and then measuring it, right? So both of them are like tricky. One not any more simpler than, well, measuring impact is much harder, but collecting the right data and getting people to like kind of give you that data, and over a period of like time, right? Like, okay, I have this grant, I finished, here is the numbers, or here is what I did. That's one thing you can get to output and outcome maybe, but can you keep track of this over like many months and years? That's like, I think we should start doing that. That really will give you like what the impact is.
Right. Yeah. I guess the other reflection I would have after Funding the Commons about that is I am appreciating more and more how the similarity to the philanthropic space is not always the right comparable, because there truly is philanthropic. We use the word grants in the philanthropic space traditionally, but for the most part, those are philanthropic gifts.
Sure.
Whereas in the Web3 space, these grants are often in service to the development of a protocol's ecosystem, which has maybe not such a strong economic incentive or not, but it certainly has a more specific aim, which is like, well, how do we get more apps into this protocol using it? And then therefore we can track the impact based on the amount of users or gas fees or whatever. And so grants is kind of like an interchangeable word, but it's not really the same.
Yeah, that's a really good point. So at least like when we are building the product, we are building the product for like two very different user base. There's this one where there's like these layer twos and the protocols.
Right.
Their goal is to like fund and grow their ecosystem, and they are really looking at like, okay, we funded, what happened, right? And then they want to constantly iterate on that. And there is this other group of program operators we work with, like climate coordination, refi. They're not looking for like something like immediate, like, okay, I just funded this, like what immediately came out of it, and I want to change it if it's not working. Like they are more like long term, and they are almost like giving out, like you said, like philanthropic, like grant giving. So those are very two different groups with very different goals, I would say.
Yeah.
Or at least the timeline is very different between the two.
Totally. Yeah. That's why I'm slightly allergic to some of the depths that the Web3 space is already suggesting around how deep to go into the atomization of impact on chain, tracking it back. Like, and it's mostly just from our use case, which is you probably know, like we're thinking about it in terms of like land projects. And there are certainly things that you can like track to the nth degree.
Sure.
But like at the end of the day, there's also some degree of philosophy that we carry, which is like, you give the money to the people and let the people make the determination across all the different considerations of their budgets and their needs and the dynamic situation that they're in and the context, and don't want to bog them down with like 40 different tools that they have to put, information into to verify things for the funders. And it's like, there's accountability, but then there's some sort of threshold of also like, but also, back great people and communities and let them decide and keep that power dynamic in appropriate relationship.
Actually, that's a really good point. Like when you have like 10 tools and then there's like 10 places here to go update and keep track of things, it's like, let me just do the work. Like, why am I spending so much time on this? Right?
Totally.
Like we like I totally get that. And we try as much as possible. Like, is there ways we can automatically pull it? It's more because the program operators kind of like ask for it. Like they want to know, are they efficiently allocating capital? How can they improve?
Totally.
So putting my like just the data engineer hat, like without data, how do you do it?
Right.
But then we also have to be very empathetic to like the people who are on the ground doing the work. Like how much are you asking from them?
Right.
I think it's like just this delicate balance.
Exactly. Because if you don't create that balance and ask them for anything, then we're caught in the problem of they're spending all their time on grant applications and needing to repeat themselves in 50 different siloed grant programs. And that was the big thing that I haven't used Karma for our grants program, but I had one of those little magic product moments. I haven't told you this yet, but like someone had sent me the link and one of the projects inside of our grants program was using Karma, and I noticed that you guys were interoperating with the Gitcoin data structures so that it automatically could like populate what was happening inside of Gitcoin. And and I realized the network effect that's starting to happen because like when we started, we did our first Mars grants round. We were the only like land project round, but Climate Coordination Network had obviously been doing great work in the space, but we didn't have as much of a direct overlap. And then when we did the second round, we had much more of an overlapping communities with BioFi. And so they're doing like kind of bioregional activation and, very similar to land projects. And so you start to suddenly see these network effects emerging in Gitcoin where projects are, sharing different communities on the same, and then you open up Karma Gap, and then all of a sudden, like, you see all these projects already pre-populated because it's all on chain and it's all in these shared ledgers. And yeah, it was like, okay, I can start to see how once we arrive at some coherence of which tools we're all using and so forth, like, this is going to become this really beautifully meshed impact economy where people don't have to keep doing things over and over.
Right. Yeah. That is actually one of the biggest value prop for some of these projects, because the way they are sustaining is through grants. And they actually Karma Gap profile has become like their on-chain project on-chain resume. So they usually just send this, and you can see what grants you have received from various rounds on Gitcoin through different rounds. And we have like other rounds also, and not just Gitcoin platform. We have like integrations with other platforms. So you get like holistic view of everything in one place, which is like a win-win. That's why we try to convince these grantees, like, okay, like, put this information once here, and you can, like, if you're submitting an application somewhere, literally like copy paste this thing there, like, until we do the native integrations, like, just use this as this one place you get all this information. And that's their reputation, right? I've received all these grants from different places. It's all in one place.
Totally.
So
yeah. I mean, if anyone's listening from the traditional philanthropic space, you probably have heard the conversation many times about how do we create shared applications for grant programs, because there is, like, I can't tell you how many giving circles and times I've listened to people say, we should all combine forces and create a shared application to make it easier for our grantees to apply to many programs. And it very rarely ever materializes. And then yet here we are in the Web3 space, kind of naturally arriving at that.
Well, MetaGo, they have been pushing for like a standard where they could have one common app for everyone to kind of use. They're making some progress. One of the ideas I had was, it's so difficult to get all the platforms in one place and like ask them to like kind of stick to this one protocol or one structure. So I was like, well, we have these beautiful like AI tools now. You go and give it.
Totally.
And then click a button and it should pull all the data from Karma or Gitcoin, wherever, and auto-populate this. Like, you kind of mimic the common app without being a common app. Like, we're like, we should just build such tools. So no one has to do any work. It'll just magically work. So,
yeah, exactly. That's a point that Hoke from Hypersearch has been making to me, that like the AI element could change how we think about data standardization, because it may be that you just submit it to the AI and then the AI does all these different taxonomies underneath it.
No one has to do any work. Like, it's I think that's I think that has the most promise, I think.
Yeah, I think that, and what I like is the emergence of standards from the impact attestation layer or the milestone reporting layer, like you're doing, rather than trying to just everyone agree in advance what these applications need to look like. It might be just different UI front ends of how people apply for rounds, but like, if we can get more coherence in terms of the impact reporting standards, doesn't mean we're all reporting the same, exact impact, but it's like the protocols that hold that impact, that hold those evaluation systems. I think that's going to create a lot of value.
Yeah. And once you have a good standard for pure data collection for these, I could come up with an algorithm of like looking at the data and measuring impact from someone else, right? Like, it's such a good place to be in if we all agree, like, these are the data points, and then everyone interprets in a different way, and that kind of results in different use cases.
Totally. So how do you fund this? What's your business model?
We have program managers either include us in their rounds. That's how they fund us. Or some of them like just like a SaaS subscription. They use it. They pay for each round or every month or something.
Got it. So your customer is really the program operators.
Correct. Yeah. It's completely free for grantees and the users. And program operators are ones who pay for it.
So I whatever you feel comfortable sharing, but what I've been curious about is what is the long-term economics of like what percentage of the funds that goes from donors to funding to grantees
Mhm.
is going to go into like the impact evaluation layer. And you're kind of in that layer
Yeah.
of the stack. You're like an enabling infrastructure tool
Yeah.
in that layer. I'm like,
Mhm.
what is your sense for how these economics will model out long term?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I've thought about this quite a bit. In the traditional world, you probably know better. Is it like 10% of it is allocated for impact measurement and things, or 15%? I don't
Don't
know.
know. Yeah, I think it varies by sector probably, and I don't know that there's necessarily a simple way to think about it yet.
Yeah. I feel like um, if we reduce that to like 1/10 of it, so let's say 1 or 2% of the funding, let's just say 2%, right? If a grant operator allocates 2% to this, I think that's a really good ROI. Like, because you're deploying all this capital,
Yeah.
the impact measurement is kind of giving you this feedback loop for like what happened and
Yeah.
like how should I be changing my program, right?
Yeah.
I think that's like 2-3% is a good amount to
Yeah.
like pay for that.
Well, my instinct is much higher, and your incentive is for it to be higher. So that's.
My
I mean, I
incentive
think
is
it would
to
be an
be
incredibly
lower.
good ROI if we got it down that low, but I don't know that all the data inputs are gonna like they have to get paid too.
I feel like a lot of these things can be automated, and I think we should get there. If we get there, one, more funds are going to the people who are doing the actual work.
Sure.
And also you can another benefit of automating is, one is the costs, and then also is like you can iterate faster, deploy capital faster and learn quicker. And then so yeah, my incentive is to like charge more, but I don't think like in the long, if you want to play the long game, I think you want to bring it down as little as possible.
Nice. What are some of the key challenges so far that you're facing, and what's keeping you up?
Collecting the well, one is getting people to actually put their milestones and post updates. No one wants to do it, right? So when they do it is when they're getting ready for the next round is when they do it.
Totally.
So I was like, okay, like at least that's fine. So we're like trying to figure out what other incentives you can give them. And then data collection. Like, collecting data is easy. Collecting what data and how it can be used, that's the hard part, right? Some program managers know, some of them don't. So it's like that, I think, is like the biggest challenge. A lot of times the grantees are like, oh, we don't track that, like, I don't know. So right. So you're kind of educating them to like, yeah, this is the kind of things you should be tracking. And how do you make it really easy for them to track it and like kind of give us that data? That is like those are the challenges like off the top I can think of.
Got it. How big is the team now?
We are just 4 full-timers. That's the core team, like 3 devs and me. I mean, I like to call myself a dev, but I don't get to code much anymore.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just 4 of us, and we have a few contractors.
And when did you guys get started?
Karma started 2022 January.
Got it.
Yeah.
Were you in the Web3 space before this, or?
I was, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I've been in the space, got into the space in what, 2014-ish? Yeah. And then Bitcoin, I was like, okay, it's pretty cool. Like, I was like, I got excited, but as a dev, we couldn't do much. And then Ethereum launched. And then I was like, okay, there's something for devs to play around with. And then I started writing Solidity contracts and like building just toy applications. And then there are a lot of devs who are like in the same boat. And then I started blogging like, oh, this is how you build an application and do this. And then like I got a lot of traction. And then I started a company on the side to create these courses, like complex courses of like how do you build a really solid application. That did pretty well for a while. So I've been always kind of building applications and doing these things. While I had another startup. But yeah, 2021 is when I 24/7 of into the space.
What's the reason that this particular part of the space has captured so much of your attention?
Reputation. I was like, I've thought about that for a long time, and it's a hard problem. I was like, yeah, let's go try tackling this hard problem.
Very hard problem.
So that's what got me into it.
Yeah.
And then I was starting to look for like where in the crypto space can I like tackle this reputation. And then we picked DAOs were like fascinating, right? And then I picked DAO governance as the first point. So we're doing a lot of work there. Actually, that's our first product for like reputation for DAO delegates. So we still have that. Like we still are like kind of growing that.
Can you say more about that?
Yeah. So DAOs have governance. And in governance, like every token holder votes on these proposals and like governs the DAO. But people soon realize like not all token holders want to be governing, right? So we moved to this delegation model where there's this certain delegates who want to be part of the DAO governing. So token holders give their voting power to them. So what started happening was there was this beauty contest where those people were like, oh, I want to be a delegate of this DAO. There was like this prestige. And they would get all this voting power, but they wouldn't do anything in the DAO. So we were like, okay, how do we solve this problem? So we started indexing all these delegates' activity. Are they voting on proposals? Are they active on the forums? And then kind of aggregated all those, and we have this reputation score, like a karma score. So now any DAO can go look at the data and say, okay, these are the delegates or DAO or the token holders can say, these people are really the ones who are doing the work. Let me give my voting power to them. And then now these delegates are like in Arbitrum DAO, for example, they're getting compensated. So the DAO is looking at this data and then saying, okay, these are like actually doing the work. We're compensating them. So there are a lot of use cases of that.
Totally. Are we going to wake up in 15 years and it'll be a streaming live broadcast of the politicians that were doing delegated conviction voting based on their karma reputations of all of their on-chain activity, algorithmically analyzed by the AI agents.
Yes. Or maybe there'll be AI agents doing the work.
Yeah, exactly.
And humans are just kind of helping out on the side.
Yeah, we're just kind of hanging out.
Yeah.
So given that you've been in the Web3 space so long, I'm curious, like what's, we're here at DevCon in Bangkok 2024. So that's coming up on a decade now.
Yeah.
What are your reflections on where the space is, the maturity, the community, the vibes?
I love the community. I mean, since I've been in the crypto and I plan to be here for a while. And with the whole, I'm very focused on the Ethereum space. Now with the L2s, the scaling problems have been solved. We're seeing so many new types of applications, and so many applications which didn't work before are kind of coming back again.
Yeah,
I am like the most excited like now of all that I can think of.
It's been a hard couple of years for Ethereum. I mean, a lot of people are very critical of the L2s. It's refreshing to hear the optimism.
Yeah, I mean, there's maybe I'm too optimistic, but I don't know. Like I like it. Yeah, and I think like any startup, right? Like if you think of the Gartner hype cycle, like there is this like super high expectation, and then there's this trough of sorrow. Hopefully we are past that over the last 2 years. Whoever, like I have always been deeply involved. Like I follow all the things happening. It never felt like nothing was happening. There was so much happening even the last 2 years, even if there was no price action.
Totally.
There was so much happening. I was like, eventually it's all going to bear fruit. So
and one of the critiques of L2s is that the fractured composability makes it hard for app developers. In many ways, you're an app developer, right? I mean, Karma Gap is. So what do you find in your lived experience of, is it challenging to deploy, against all these different chains, or are you, just kind of choosing a couple networks to stay on and have people come to you? Or
that's a good question. We have the challenge today. So our protocol is deployed on 4 networks: Optimism, Arbitrum, Celo, Say. And the thing is, sometimes the grantees receive grants from multiple chains. Like the rounds are run on different chains, or the program is run on different chains. And then we kind of have to sync all that information to that chain. So like, how do we like kind of project is on one chain and the grant is attached to it on another chain. How do you do it, right? It is really painful. But I think that problem is being solved. Hopefully in another year, like that problem will go away. I know many people having the same issue, especially when we are like, you can think of we are B2B2C. So like program operators are our customers. Like I can't tell like another chain to say like, we're going to like use another chain. They're like, yeah, we don't want to do it. Right. But I think this cross chain interaction is going to be a solved problem in the next few months or a year. For now, yeah, there is this band-aid solution we have, but yeah, that it is painful.
And in that solution that you allude to, is that because of kind of these different super chain and kind of chain networks that are emerging, or is that because of the upgrades going into Ethereum to create more cross-chain messaging?
Not just even super chain. Like I cannot make a base contract read the data on Optimism contract, right? And so if there is a project on Base or Arbitrum, and I want to make, then they receive a grant on Optimism. Like, how do I make Arbitrum and Optimism like data, like kind of like share, keeping like just one copy of the data, right?
Yeah.
It's like there's no cleaner way to do it now. So yeah, that is like from our protocol and our application point of view, that is like the biggest problem. A lot of like consumer applications, they don't have that problem because they are on one chain.
Sure.
Yeah, for things like ours who operate across chains, yeah, it is a problem.
But when you said you think it'll be kind of solved, what is there specific, exactly where that solution's coming from, or is it just a general sense that you got 100,000 people working on the problem and it'll be solved?
No, I think I even met a company yesterday who are trying to solve the same problem. No, there are actual like companies, projects who are trying to solve that exact problem.
Yeah.
So yeah, I know it's been worked on. I'm blanking on a couple of these names, but
got it. Cool. Any other high-level takes on what's happening inside of Gitcoin with these community rounds and the continued kind of like development of the Gitcoin quadratic funding ecosystem?
Yeah, I'm seeing a lot more experiments being run on the Allo protocol and the Grand Stack. The QF itself has like so many flavors of it. Last week, I was part of the Octant Accelerator, and one of the companies is doing a streaming QF. So that was like I think that was pretty cool. There's obviously the regular QF, and then we were just talking about like impact QF. Like yeah, there's like so many, right? And outside of QF itself, like there are other mechanisms being used. Like there was this one called the grant ships. I don't know if you saw that. They are also building on Allo, I think. They have these, they deploy capital to like these ships, which are themselves a program, and who in turn kind of like allocate capital to like these projects. And they all compete for projects among one another. So I think it was like pretty cool. So there are quite a few experiments like popping up, which is great.
Nice. Yeah, it's always been a thesis for me that like part of what is exciting about this space is the digital programmable money space is like we're going to see a rapid evolutionary cycle of experiments in all these different ways, in governance and capital allocation and different forms of value and token coordination and like that. Just the nature of how fast we can go and this kind of permissionless way of like creating these iterative cycles. It's kind of like recreates the patterns of nature and hyperspeed to see like what wins out.
Right. Yeah. The one thing I don't know if enough capital allocators are thinking about is if you think from a grantee or a project point of view, it's very taxing, right? Like there's this SQF, there's this QF. I'm like trying to like
totally.
I mean, again, there's like two different types of projects. There's like pure public good funding, public goods who are like completely relying on grants. They're the ones who need to be like really like worrying about like how do I like where do I apply, what do I keep track of, right? That's but everyone else like who should really be using grants maybe once or twice and then find a business model. It's not that much of a challenge. But for pure public goods, I think it is someone needs to think of grantees also. How much time are they spending actually figuring these things out versus actually just focusing on their work?
Yeah. I don't know the answer. It's definitely been part of the tension in my mind thinking about quadratic funding, because that's new for a lot of people. And then we were giving our grantees materials that they could share to their communities of what the hell is quadratic funding and what does this mean? And, and you get the whole range of criticisms and embrace and and then oh, look, there's this other round and they're also doing QF, and it starts to click, whatever. And then we just come in and we blast them with no, actually, that's just one of 100 different types of capital allocation that we're actually going to have, and next is retrospective. What?
Yeah.
Can you please just choose words that are under 18 characters?
And so it's very common knowledge in DAOs. There's this voter fatigue, right?
Totally.
Voting on these proposals. And I think there's this fatigue in QFs also, right?
Yeah.
So
100%.
How is this going to play out? It's something interesting to see.
Yeah. Well, we have a walkie next after we finish this conversation, so I'll ask him about that as well, because he's the one that kind of keeps introducing more things into the. Slow down, Kevin. We're trying to keep up.
Agree.
Yeah, nice. Any other key thoughts you wanted to share or messages? Curious if there's anything else that people should really be thinking about in terms of Karma.
If you're a program operator, we would love to talk. We would love to help improve your program. And then if you're a grantee, we would love to talk to you. We would love to onboard. And as we think of Karma as a on-chain project resume, it's not just for grants. We're thinking way beyond that. How do you help projects succeed, right? So, I would love to talk to anyone.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Mahesh, for doing this. To learn more, just go to gap.karmahq.xyz or XYZ. There is a link in the show notes. And for more conversations, especially here at DevCon, exploring this weird, wacky world of grants programs, on-chain, outcome, impact-based measurements and tools, we've got a stellar lineup. Check them all out at maearth.com. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you on the next one.